If the algorithm could be tailored specifically to you, this is it. We are so excited to talk about Bros, a movie that Alonso has now seen twice, and so he gets to describe it.
Gay guys are so stupid.
I know. But we've been smart enough to brand ourselves as being smart.
It's our little secret.
So this is starring Billy Eichner, who co-wrote it with Nicholas Stoller, who directed it. Eichner plays a queer history podcaster who's also now the director of an upcoming LGBTQ museum. He falls for a lawyer who is out of the closet, but, you know, a lot more dialed down and far less confrontational and loud and confident than Eichner's character is. And so it is a rom-com between these guys, and you know, can the differences that brought them together be overcome enough to keep them together? Among the things that's so great about this movie, apart from the fact that it's very funny and very romantic, is that it's very specific about queer men of a certain age and how the way we grew up affects who we are. So this isn't just a movie where like, oh, they both have, you know, commitment issues, or they're, you know, afraid to be vulnerable. But it's very specifically about how, in the case of Eichner's character, you know, he was interested in musical theater, and he had professors who told him that, you know, he wasn't butch enough, and he had a gay walk, and it would limit his possibilities. And you know, the other character played by Luke Macfarlane, you know, hates his job as a lawyer, always actually really wanted to be a chocolatier of all things, but thought it was too faggy, you know, when he was young. And so instead he was playing hockey and, you know, doing all this kind of butch stuff. So it's very specifically about their lives as queer men that colors who they are and who they might be and what they can bring out of each other over the course of this relationship. So that's done really well. The movie is cast entirely with LGBTQ actors, even in the roles of straight people. So that's very cool. Yes, this is a movie that, you know, for all the sort of the historic thing you've been hearing about, it's the first rom-com from a major studio. And yes, of course, it is a movie about a white cis gay man, but they poke fun at white cis gay men privilege throughout the film. And you know, I think there's a very good faith effort to include as diverse a cast as possible, and to give the funny lines to as many people in that cast as possible. That's a material thing that all of those performers can now take to whatever their next projects are. I was in Bros. But Eichner and Macfarlane are terrific together. They have great chemistry. Luke Macfarlane, of course, one of my favorite Hallmark Christmas leading men. There is a running gag about Hallmark Christmas movies in this movie. I felt very seen by that. So yeah, I really dug it. Even if you put aside the sort of like whatever first historical blah blah it is, it's just a really fun, satisfying, well done movie.
If the algorithm could be tailored specifically to you, this is it. We found it. All the Venn diagram is like a circle.
I'm less special than I thought, I guess.
No,
There's a bunch
you
of us
are.
out there.
Oh, it was so much fun sitting next to you during all the Hallmark stuff. I was just watching you like giddily giggle because it was so on the nose. Yeah, this is really charming. And, you know, of course, the structure of it is a very traditional romantic comedy structure, and it hits all the beats that we see in straight white people romantic comedies, you know, whether like they initially clash and it's kind of prickly and they don't like each other, to, you know, the montage of the first date even has like first date montage music behind it. So it's very knowingly faithful to all of those tropes that are so familiar.
Even some of the more like, you know, raucous gay sex scenes are still scored like it's a Nora Ephron movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you're thinking about taking your mom.
Some moms,
that's
maybe.
True. Hashtag not all moms.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it is really raunchy, you guys. But again, that's totally relevant to who they are and what their dating situation is like. Yeah, you also have, you know, the obligatory like bad grinder, you know, montage of bad possible dates. There's a lot of it's very familiar. And like, spoiler, there's a big, you know, showy confrontation in front of a crowd on stage, like there is in so many romantic comedies. And so it knows what movie it is, and it plays with the tropes, but through this very specific queer perspective. And yeah, I laughed my ass off the whole way through. This is the kind of movie that you really can't see just once, I don't think, because it is so funny, because Billy Eichner is so rapid fire, and you won't catch it all the first time because you're too busy laughing. I didn't know he could sing.
That was new to me as well. Did not know that was part of his wheelhouse. But yeah, no, it is. He is. He's very good at that. And again, like Macfarlane, I think he's terrific in the Hallmark movies that I've seen him in. He's done obviously lots of other stuff that I have not had a chance to see. But this movie, what he's doing is so much more complex and so much funnier and so much more raw in a lot of ways. It was seeing him anew. I really think this is gonna change his career for the better, I hope, and you know, kind of open up some opportunities. You know, I mean, look, not that being a Hallmark lead is a bad thing, but I mean, I think, you know, this is you know, moving up the scale.
Oh, for sure. I think probably the average person would not have known who he was, and I only do because you and I reviewed some Christmas movie and he was in it.
Single All the Way.
Single All the Way. I wanted to call it
Netflix.
Jingle All the Way, but
Yes.
we reviewed that. He's in that.
He
so
is.
that's really the only way that I would have known him. But yeah, he's gorgeous. And he's got like that Chris Evans kind of all-American hunky boy next door thing going. But there is more to this character. And this is in the writing, of course. There is more to this character than just being like the brawny dolt. You know, they show so many different kinds of ways of queer life. And so Billy Eichner in a lot of ways is knowingly very much a stereotype. But then the Luke Macfarlane character, I think he really does enjoy like the brawny, you know, sportsy masculinity, like that kind of physical, the wrestling.
Yeah.
Like,
There are all kinds of ways to be queer in this, and whether it's, you know, that you're trans or non-binary, or whether it's just that you're a gay guy who listens to Garth Brooks and watches sports on TV. Y'all are out there. I know some of you. So yeah, you know, that was, I think that was one of the big things when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was an issue. It was like, I think a lot of people couldn't wrap their mind around the idea that what, gay men want to be in the Air Force? I'm like, yeah. And guess what? We've been there all along. Right. The movie does a good job of sort of addressing that, but also kind of finding why these two guys would be into each other when they seemingly have nothing in common.
Yeah, they have a really, really charming rapport. Billy Eichner is, you know, charismatic as hell. Guy Branum is very funny.
Yes.
As his best friend, he's always a reliable supporting player. I always want more Guy Branum.
Always.
You know, he's so great. Where I don't love this is that it gets a little repetitive and a little indulgent with some of the bits. And so like the whole planning for the LGBTQ museum, like they maybe have one or two sitting around the conference table, you know, complaining to each other sessions, and maybe those go on a little bit too long. Those feel a little indulgent. Those feel like moments where probably there was a lot of improv, I'm guessing.
Could be. Yeah, certainly. I think Apatow is known for that sort of thing. You know, look, I used to work at the Advocate, so I've been at that table, and I thought those meetings were all really funny.
Is that accurate for you?
For sure. I also like how because of the History Museum and because of his podcast, like they do touch so much on actual queer history and talk about that in a way that I think a lot of viewers, and even queer viewers will come away from this being like, oh, I didn't know about that, or I would like to read more about this person or whatever. So like just having that as just in the backdrop and it's just part of the mix of what this movie is, I thought really gave it some texture as well.
It didn't feel like a lesson. It didn't feel like we were being preached to, and they weave it in really skillfully. It's germane, to use everyone's favorite word. Yeah, no, I was totally charmed, and I had a great time. I'm saying 8.8.
I said 9. This is a lot of fun. I urge you to go see it in the theater. I had a great time, and I've seen it now with 2 different full houses made up of 2 very different kinds of audiences, and both of them really enjoyed it.